She wasn't supposed to be there. The woman who touched God. Imagine bleeding for 12 years. Not 12 hours, not 12 days, not 12 months, 12 years. A child born on the day her suffering began would now be old enough to start middle school. 12 years of waking up hoping today would be different. 12 years of disappointment. 12 years of doctor visits. 12 years of treatments. 12 years of unanswered prayers. 12 years of wondering if life would ever return to normal. Most people hear this story and immediately focus on the miracle. But before we can understand the miracle, we must understand the prison. Because this woman wasn't only fighting a medical condition, she was fighting exhaustion. She was fighting loneliness. She was fighting shame. She was fighting public opinion. She was fighting religious barriers. She was fighting a system that told her she didn't belong. And yet somehow she refused to quit. That may be why Jesus stopped an entire crowd for one woman. Not because of her illness, but because of her faith. As a healthcare educator, one of the first things that stands out to me is the phrase, a woman with an issue of blood. The Bible doesn't tell us her diagnosis, but it gives us enough information to understand her suffering. Today, physicians might consider conditions such as uterine fibroids, endometriosis, hormonal disorders, bleeding disorders, certain cancers, or other causes of abnormal uterine bleeding. Whatever the cause, one thing was certain: the bleeding never stopped. And blood is not just another fluid. Blood is life. Your blood carries oxygen from your lungs. It carries nutrients to every cell. It transports hormones. It carries immune cells that fight infection. It removes waste. Everything depends on blood flow. When someone loses blood continuously, the body begins paying a price. Iron levels drop. Hemoglobin levels drop. Energy drops. Strength drops. The person may become pale, weak, dizzy, short of breath, exhausted. Imagine feeling that way for 12 years. Not 12 days. 12 years. Today we might order blood tests, ultrasounds, CT scans, hormonal therapy, iron supplements, blood transfusions, procedures, surgery. But she lived in a world without laboratories, without MRI machines, without blood banks, without specialists, without modern medicine. Yet the Bible says she had seen many physicians. She had tried. She had searched. She had spent everything she had. And instead of getting better, she became worse. That detail matters, because many people listening today know exactly what that feels like. Maybe not medically, but emotionally, spiritually, financially. You've tried, you've prayed, you've worked, you've sacrificed, you've done everything you know to do, and somehow the situation still remains. That is where this woman was, not at the beginning of her struggle, at the end of it. But the blood wasn't actually her biggest problem. The biggest problem was what the blood meant, because she wasn't living under modern healthcare. She was living under Old Testament law. According to the law of Moses, a woman experiencing ongoing bleeding was ceremonially unclean. This wasn't primarily about hygiene. This was about ritual purity. Anything she sat on became unclean. Anyone who touched her became unclean. Anything she touched could become unclean. Imagine living with that reality. Imagine wondering if people would avoid you. Imagine wondering if they would move away if they knew. Imagine feeling like a problem wherever you went. Imagine carrying a condition that constantly separated you from normal life. The bleeding didn't just steal her health. It stole her community. It stole her relationships. It stole her confidence. It stole her place. In many ways, she was living outside the camp long before she physically stepped into the crowd. And then one day, she heard about Jesus. I love that phrase, she heard, because every miracle story usually starts with somebody hearing something, a rumor, a testimony, a possibility, a tiny spark of hope. She heard about a blind man receiving sight. She heard about lepers being cleansed. She heard about demons leaving. She heard about impossible situations changing. And somewhere deep inside her, something came alive. Maybe she thought, I've tried everything else. Why not him? Maybe she thought, what do I have left to lose? Maybe she thought, this is my last chance. Whatever she thought, she reached a decision that would change her life forever. She decided, I am going anyway. Now pause and think about what that meant. She wasn't supposed to be there. According to the rules, she should have stayed away. According to public opinion, she should have stayed hidden. According to social expectations, she should have remained silent. According to fear, she should have remained home. Yet she got up anyway. That may be one of the greatest acts of faith in the entire Bible, because faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is moving despite fear. Courage is not having no obstacles. Courage is walking through them. The crowd was enormous. People everywhere, bodies pressing together, voices shouting, dust rising, everyone trying to get close to Jesus. And somewhere in that crowd was a woman nobody noticed, a woman who had been forgotten, a woman who had been overlooked, a woman who had spent 12 years invisible, but heaven had not forgotten her. Notice her strategy. She didn't ask for attention. She didn't ask for an introduction. She didn't ask for a meeting. She didn't ask for a microphone. She didn't ask for permission. She simply said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. Not might be healed, will be healed. That is remarkable. After 12 years of disappointment, her faith was somehow still alive. After 12 years of failure, her expectation was somehow still alive. After 12 years of suffering, her hope was somehow still alive. That is unstoppable faith. Then it happened. She reached. One touch. That's all, one touch. And instantly she felt something change. The bleeding stopped. Imagine that moment. 12 years, gone. 12 years of exhaustion, gone. 12 years of disappointment, gone. 12 years of isolation, gone. One touch, one moment, one encounter, one act of faith. And then Jesus stopped walking. The crowd kept moving, but Jesus stopped. And he asked a question that shocked everyone. Who touched me? The disciples almost seemed amused. Lord, everyone is touching you. People were everywhere. Bodies were pressing from every direction. Yet Jesus knew something different had happened, because not every touch is the same. Many touched him physically. Only one touched him by faith. Many brushed against him. Only one connected. Many were close to him. Only one expected something from him. The difference was faith. Then something fascinating happens. Jesus keeps asking. The woman realizes she cannot remain hidden, and suddenly she becomes afraid. Why? Why fear after receiving the miracle? Because she knows what she has done. She knows the rules. She knows the law. She knows she entered a crowd while considered unclean. She knows she touched people. She knows she touched Jesus. Perhaps she expected correction. Perhaps she expected rebuke. Perhaps she expected public humiliation. Perhaps 12 years of rejection had trained her to expect rejection again. Many people know that feeling. When you've lived with disappointment long enough, you begin expecting it. When you've lived with rejection long enough, you begin preparing for it. When you've lived with shame long enough, you begin assuming it. She probably expected judgment. Instead, she encountered grace. Jesus looked at her and said something extraordinary. Daughter, not woman, not unclean woman, not bleeding woman, not problem woman. Daughter. One word restored what 12 years had stolen. Identity, belonging, connection, family, acceptance. Notice something beautiful. Jesus did not merely heal her body. He restored her place. Because healing isn't only about fixing what hurts. Sometimes healing is restoring what was lost. And then we discover the hidden principle. Under normal circumstances, the unclean made others unclean. That was the direction things flowed. But when she touched Jesus, the flow reversed. Instead of her condition contaminating him, his life transformed her. Instead of her uncleanness spreading to him, his wholeness spread to her. The flow changed direction. That is the gospel. That is grace. That is redemption. That is salvation. The disease did not overcome the healer. The healer overcame the disease. Maybe that is why Jesus honored her faith, because she broke through every barrier. She broke through exhaustion. She broke through disappointment. She broke through shame. She broke through public opinion. She broke through fear. She broke through 12 years of failure. She broke through every voice saying, "Stay where you are." And heaven honored it. Not because she was important in society, not because she was wealthy, not because she was famous, but because she refused to quit. Perhaps someone listening today feels like that woman. You have tried everything. You are tired. You are discouraged. You are carrying something nobody understands. And maybe every voice around you says, "It's over. Accept it. Give up. Stay home. Stay hidden." But this story whispers a different message. Keep moving. Keep pressing. Keep believing. Keep reaching. Because faith does not ask permission from fear. Faith does not wait for ideal circumstances. Faith keeps moving toward Jesus. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: the woman who wasn't supposed to be there became the woman Jesus stopped everything for. Because unstoppable faith has a way of getting heaven's attention. And sometimes one touch changes everything.